Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
What up, y'all? This is Tone Talks in the building. I wanted to have a brief discussion about what I've been seeing from this Popeyes chat, Popeyes event, and the craze of everything. And I wanted to make sure that everybody's on the same page about what we're seeing. And we need to back out and really get an understanding of what Popeyes, the franchise, is. Because I think right now we have a lot of people just talking and rambling about Popeyes without any specifics on how this franchise was set up to particularly target like black folks in urban areas. And I just want to get clear before we get into the real discussion of what my opinion is. The whole hysteria is built around a chicken sandwich that's about $4. So I drove past the other day and lines were all around the corner, and I felt like one of the issues is the chicken sandwich and the lack of having the chicken sandwiches and our need to go get these sandwiches. But then the second to me is that the municipalities along with Popeyes have no kind of ordinance or requirements of signage or anything of the sort to make sure that people know that you don't have this item. So it creates a fanatic hysteria. And I just want to kind of address how problematic that is, because to me, I believe black folks, particularly ADOS folks, deserve much better. And I don't think that we understand what much better is, because what I see now is this group of young blacks who I actually call kind of Black Friday babies. The reason why I call them Black Friday babies is this is a group of blacks probably grew up, born in the late 80s, if not the early 90s. And that's what they grew up on, is crazy lines and everything of the sort. And so what they think is that this is normal. This is capital. And it isn't. And what I also mean, Jordan lines and things of the sort. So people will say, well, don't white people stand in these lines as well? What I say to you is that fundamentally this is a bit different, because what we see is, one, you don't have the product, and two, the whole process is actually falling apart, and three, you targeted black folks with how you campaigned. Now, we'll never know if they paid social media influencers or how this actually was triggered, but what we do know is that they didn't have, and they don't have, the capacity to deal with what they did trigger. And as a result, I think they owe, meaning Popeyes, black folks an apology. And I don't think black folks even know they need to demand that, but I'm going to make it clear today. Let's talk about it. I'm going to be on I'm on YouTube. We already got 400 people. I expect to have probably 2,000 people watching. Appreciate you tuning in. This is a pop-up show on Popeyes. And let me set up my actual, and I want to get into a discussion about Popeyes and what we see and how problematic this whole process has been. For me, what I see is a lot of us believe in business that's raceless and it's coming out. We really don't understand that this was this franchise was targeted towards black folk. And I'm not guessing, because I'm going to show you in a Washington Post article that it was failing and then it targeted itself to black folk. But you should be able to know that just by looking at the commercials. And that's why I bring in the Black Friday babies. It's almost like they've been born into such exploitation, payday loan centers, different things of the sort in their community, that they rent centers. They don't even know what exploitation looks like. They literally believe that this is fun. It is fun to stand in line for an hour and a half to find out that Popeyes don't have what they actually advertise. There's nothing fun about exploitation. So I saw this whole pushback by a lot of blacks, younger blacks, and let me not say a lot, I've seen a few so far, that you have black people that want to talk about politics saying you're worried about Popeyes instead of voting. And then there's this whole thing about we just having fun. What they don't understand is, on one level, when you really look at the memes, it's really a matter of laughing at black folks. That's what the memes are. It's not just like fun randomly. Be honest with yourself. These memes are laughing at black folks. And I would even go further. They're laughing at ADOS folks and ADOS culture. And you have a lot of people who aren't even ADOS doing that, because it's funny and it's a game and it's a gimmick, and none of it is funny. See, I'm looking at this craze, and I said a tweet, and I want to make sure I flesh that tweet out. And I said this tweet because I believe that this is a flashpoint, not only for our community, but for America at large, but our community particularly, because we're so highly exploitable. And the reason why I think that we have hyper exploitation in black America is not just because of a severe lack of wealth and a severe lack of community. Let me give you an example. In white communities, what will happen is that You know how the lines are looped around the outside of the driveway. Well, the neighborhood the neighborhood council will get together and shut all that down. They'll shut all that down. Now people say, well, black people have that too. Not to the extent that white folks have because of the wealth level and everything else they have. What they would do is they would immediately get with the police or whoever they had, the franchise owner. The franchise owner might actually have to talk to the neighborhood council. We be having it set up where they don't even have no relationship. And then also the municipality itself, somebody might know the mayor. And we shutting all this down where you standing where the line goes outside onto the street in an unsafe way. You have people crashing into the building because it's just all set up wrong. Because things are set up wrong for black folk. Let's talk. They set things up for us to be frustrated, and then when we frustrated, they be like, why you frustrated? Popeyes did this wrong. Black folks reacted to this wrong. But black influencers, black celebrities, you had Quavo talking about he gonna sell Popeyes chicken sandwiches for $1,000. For those people who said, well, that's a good business idea. Because the reality is what's happening now is super grifters are being allowed to be super grifters and come back fold into the community like we all community. There's nothing funny about it. The reality of what we need to see and look at is get honest with ourselves about what we looking at today. Let me try to get this up now so I can get the chat up. 1 second. So I'll be able to see your chats on the side and I'll fold you guys in as we go along. We're going to have this discussion talk for about 25 minutes. It's loading up for me right now. Popeyes put out a tweet, and in this article what they talk about is how Popeyes exploits urban culture. What they said, it sounds like someone ate one of our biscuits because y'all looking thirsty. And they was talking to Wendy's. It's all a joke, and it's this use of black vernacular language to make fun of us, and none of it is funny. None of it is funny. People fighting over these sandwiches, and they basically are being put in a position to be laughed at, and I don't think that's what we represent. ADOS people built this country, American Descendants of Slavery, and they deserve better. Let's go right into the articles. I see y'all. Let me see. Chick-fil-A, DeAndre, you're right. Chick-fil-A got workers to come outside and take orders for drive-thru. See, that's the difference. See, like, let me say this. What's happening also is a lack of understanding of what you actually purchase. The purchase isn't just a chicken sandwich when you pay $4. The purchase is the chicken sandwich, the process of getting the chicken sandwich, the freshness of the chicken sandwich, how it's delivered to you, the kind of ingredients. We just looking at the chicken sandwich and what it tastes like. Well, if the chicken sandwich took 2 hours to get and you had to fight in line, it's not even worth $4. What kind of risk did you put out to get a $4 chicken sandwich? They got chicken at the store for $8 for a whole pack. I don't think we understand like process. The process is so low, it don't matter what the chicken tastes like. Let me say it again. The process of getting the chicken sandwich is so low, it don't matter what the chicken tastes like. And again, if it's fun for you to stand in that line the way that I saw at the end of 2 different Popeyes, then I don't know what you know if you know what fun is. So, I want to start off with this to give everybody a framework on Popeyes. I haven't seen nobody do this. And it's this article on mash.com. On the final version, I'll probably cut in the article so you can actually see them and follow along. But right now, you just listen because there's going to be some reading. The untold truth of Popeyes. In 2017, Restaurant Brands International, the parent company that owns Tim Hortons and Burger King, bought Popeyes. The announcement sent social media into a tailspin with people from all walks of life wondering whether or not their beloved franchise was going to change. The name Popeye might conjure up images of the spinach and Sailor Man, but that's not who the chain is named after at all. It's actually named after Gene Hackman's fictional detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in the 70s era movie The French Connection. Alvin C. Copeland opened the first location under the name Chicken on the Run. After he struggled alone for months, he took inspiration from his suburban New Orleans location, replaced his traditional chicken with a spicy version, and reopened as Popeyes. I just want to make sure that I'm having this discussion because it's a good one. For a lot of us, I think what happens is that we believe in business and our ability to do business, and that's cool. But we don't want to step back and understand what we're looking at. Part of this video is my opinion, but a bigger part is just to step back and look at the Popeyes franchise so that we can understand what it is. We got 1,000 people in the chat. Shout out! Please use the super chat. Support this. I'm gonna be on the chat, looking at what you guys have to say. I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm reading as I see it. My chicken way better. My kid doesn't eat fast food at all. Shout out, Lioness Heart. We in here. This is just Patty LaBelle Pies Part 2. Blackatolism. Oh man, we in the chat. Join the chat. 1,000 people. We talking about Popeyes and this chicken craze. I'm reading an article from MASH.com, The Untold Truth of Popeyes, explaining the background of Popeyes so we can understand what we're seeing, so we can explain it to our family, to our children, to our community at large. Again, I think part of what we're seeing is a failure of Popeyes to treat us respectfully as consumers. They got little signs on the front of the door. I seen one just yesterday, and it says sold out chicken. But if you in the drive-thru, you can't see that. All they gotta do is do big like window signs. They can get them all printed. They can get them all to the locations within 24 hours, and then people just know they sold out. But this is part of a campaign to get us all worked up. Let me keep going. In the 90s, Slate says bankruptcy forced a major reorganization of Popeye. Founder Al Copeland went from CEO to franchisee, but kept control of the recipe. After his death, the recipe stayed as a part of the estate, and Popeyes needed to fork over $3.1 million a year for royalties. It wasn't until 2014 they paid Copeland's estate-owned company, Diversified Foods and Seasoning, LLC, a whopping $43 million for the rights to the full recipe so many people in love. DFL still supplies Popeyes with their spice blend, and interestingly, there's a proprietary blend that DFS still owns in core recipes that Popeye now has the right to. Copeland passed away in 2008. Again, this is the guy that founded it. And at the time, it had been about 15 years since he'd handed the reins to his successor. But QSR magazine says the announcement of his death seemed like just one more blow to the brand that was seriously struggling. It had fallen a long way since the 80s, when it was third largest chicken-based chain in the country. Cheryl, listen to this part, and I'm going to attach it to a Washington Post article. Cheryl Blatcher took over managing the chain and franchisees. And if you remember seeing some major changes in things like menu and advertising, it was all part of her multi-million-dollar overhaul. Fortunately for them, it worked. Between 2008 and 16, the number of Popeyes locations went from 1,900 to over 2,500. Franchisee profits increased to a whopping $340,000 per restaurant, and Popeye's stock climbed from $3.50 a share to around $60. That's a pretty shocking growth. But I want you to understand this part, which is key, how they've been targeting black communities. See, I'm going to pull up a racial dot map and put it right along a Popeye's search in Google for Los Angeles. What you see is called a racial dot map. The red dots are white folks. Now, Los Angeles only has 15-20% black folks. So it's going to have a mix of other groups, but we still are the majority customer for the Popeye locations. I'm just telling you from my eyeballs and having been there before. What I want you to know is when you look at the locations, the red dots don't have no Popeye. Those are where the white people live, on the beach cities and everything else. There's no Popeyes. There's only Popeyes where they're not located. So for those people that don't understand even in application what I'm going to read, this is the case. They're targeted at urban communities. See, traditionally Popeyes has been focused on the urban market, which in retail parlance can be code for black. The leadership decided to reach beyond that demographic and the mostly untouched suburbs like Sparks, Nev, and Vineland, New Jersey. We're a brand where we have a high percentage of African Americans. And in the past 3 years, in this economy, African Americans have suffered. Understand, this explains Popeye's president, Ralph Ballard. Again, let me read it again. We are a brand where we have a high percentage of African Americans. So for those people that keep telling us on Twitter that other people shop at Popeyes, yeah, okay. But it's an African American basically targeted franchise. This is from the president of Popeyes, so we can stop talking and going back and forth. Understand this. Those Black Friday babies that are out there. I don't have time to be playing with the fact that you like exploitation. There's people that like to get poked with knives. I'm talking to you about the reality of what we deserve. I don't have time for you to compare standing in line at a Popeyes to us saying galvanized for ADOS. Understand that Black Twitter is powerful. I'm going to get into an article about that. But at the same time, because we're so highly exploitable, what ends up happening is that we are first to get exploited. Let me talk it for a second. What I believe, this is a theory I've created, that black folks, ADOS folks right now, that we serve a specific function and that we have a specific kind of reaction to things because we experience America's freeborn rights and everything unlike anybody else. We don't have a counterculture, meaning we descend from slavery and we were stripped of culture, and then we just experience America at whole. That's like drinking liquor with no chaser. Everybody else from different kinds of whites that come from Europe, from Africans that come from West Africa, from even Latinos that come from different parts of Latin America, at home, that Americanness gets washed against a counterculture that gives, to me, some constraints. I was hearing from somebody, and you can verify this, that in Europe, they don't even show, like, during kids' shows, they don't show commercials because it's too easy to manipulate kids. We don't have no constraints like that here. So what you find is that here, this place, this America, we are so highly exploitable that we don't even know how to see exploitation, and we enjoy it. And if you take that away from us, we might not want. If the chicken sandwiches was just you just buy them, wouldn't nobody even be going? It's people that don't even eat the fried chicken that's going there. At least have eaten Popeyes in the last month. Look, we talking today about Popeyes. I want to have a discussion because I think in a lot of ways people can't deal with what we seeing, and what we seeing is exploitation of black folks, of black communities, and I wanted to talk about it. This is an article from BET. Popeyes released this long-awaited chicken sandwich last week, and America and black Twitter were here for it. Almost immediately, digitally connected black America weighed in on the chicken sandwich's taste, availability, and the reigning king of fast food, Chick-fil-A. Largely driven by black Twitter, pictures, memes, and videos flooded social media for hours, causing the sandwich to sell out all over the country. And rival Chick-fil-A's digital team to turn chicken fingers to Twitter fingers. This was to the tune of $25 million in free marketing for the new chicken sandwich contender, all without needing the resources of one black media outlet. Black social media went hard. Folks took shady shots at the Chick-fil-A throne. Even Wendy's and Bojangles caught the hands of black Twitter for daring to challenge the new kid on the chicken sandwich block. 2 weeks and literally hours of TV news and radio coverage later, the social media hashtag chicken sandwich war still wages on. While watching it was big fun for us, some of us, it turned out to be really big business for Popeyes, and some would argue Chick-fil-A. Apex Marketing estimates that roughly $23 million in free advertising for Popeyes was earned just on social media, but it spanned TV, radio, digital, and print media. All this was largely fueled by African American social media. 28% of Twitter users are black, and we drive almost all trending conversations on the platform. Understand that the people in control of making sure this wasn't a hysteria benefited from it being a hysteria. I'm not saying they did it purposely, but they definitely didn't do the things that they needed to do quickly to make sure this hysteria ended. They didn't put any signage up. They didn't put any notices up. They didn't change any of their drive-through patterns. I saw drive-thrus where people were coming in both ways. This is a failure of business. And see, when business fails you, you got to have a reaction. You can't just buy more chicken sandwiches. Let's talk about it on a basic level. You don't want to talk about voting because you, whatever. Look, at least you should not go to the Popeyes no more that decides that it ain't going to have one drive-thru for one drive-thru line. They got to respect you as a customer. You're spending $4 on a chicken sandwich. See, I don't think we understand that. If they can't respect you on a chicken sandwich, you can't never get no reparations for ADOS. I'm talking to you today. We talking about all kind of things. We getting this conversation going. Let's see what's in the chat. Oh, man. Most chicken in the grocery are treated with some form of bleach. We got a bunch of, I read Dr. Derry's study on food swamps, food deserts, and obesity. We don't even see the continued black exploitation. You're right. I think for so many of us, we got 1,500 listening live on this. Understand, this is almost like a cable news show on a random Monday. That's what we doing. We doing black politics. ADOS, black folks, black allies that are out there, white folks, Latinos. We doing black politics today. We talking because it's a necessary talk. I'm not here for no nonsense. For those people that say other people are in line, I just gave you the numbers. This is a black targeted phenomenon. I gotta tell you today that my position is that Popeyes don't deserve our dollars today until they get their mess in order. I'm not talking about whether you have a right to eat a chicken and a vegan argument. I'm saying on a basic level, you as a customer, hear me now, deserve a certain level of respect if you're going to pay $4 for a chicken sandwich. That's a high price point. Not compared to the market, but I'm talking about compared to chicken in the store. I'm saying to you today that respect is that you need to be treated as a customer that is giving their money. Not as though somebody that's going to ride a ride at Magic Mountain. None of this makes any sense. This hysteria to me represents in so many ways a flashpoint. And the reason why I said a flashpoint, it particularly represents that in our communities to me, but America at large. That capital is able to do little things and make you have hysteria over things that you didn't even like yesterday. Understand that they can continue the process and you still don't pull back. When I say that, this isn't just like yesterday that this happened. This has been a week, 2 weeks. This makes no sense. I'm saying to you that you got to make it make sense just for you. I'm not talking about everybody else right now. I'm saying you got to say to yourself that if Popeyes isn't going to have it right for me to go buy the chicken sandwich, I'm not going to buy the chicken sandwich. I can wait. You got to say to yourself that standing, and again, I think we got a lot of Black Friday babies out here. People that grew up on exploitation. And this isn't just black folks, but I think the Jordan phenomenon and everything else, that's what you know as shopping. And I'm saying to you that today, you got to say to yourself that I'm not standing in line for an hour and a half or fighting over or waiting for a chicken sandwich. I'm talking today. We having one. Jay Fish, I rode past Popeyes yesterday here in Dallas, Oak Cliff, and there was only a few cars in line. I'm guessing they were sold out. Moment I seen the $3.99 tag, I shook my head. Come on, man. And Miss Wilson, I don't eat Popeyes, so I wouldn't buy a chicken sandwich just to say I tried it. That's my point. I think we need something in our lives, and this ain't it. If I had to give you something, it's ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. If I had to give you something to use this 23% of black Twitter on, it's reparations for your family. Because if you don't get that, this life, you know, will change drastically over the next few years. And I'm not guessing. You look at the data, they say within the next several years we won't have any wealth. We already nearly have no wealth. Bottom half of the race worth less than $1, really negative $100 billion combined. But really, the top 10% of our race has all of our wealth. 90% of the wealth is in white hands. We got 3% or 3. We have 3 trillion. White folks have 100 trillion. That's what they're splitting. Now it's more white families, but it's only 83 million white families. It's 20 million black families. You can do that math. It don't add up. We don't have enough. It's hoarded by the top 10%. They got 2.25 of the black 3 trillion. The top 10% of black families. The bottom 90% is living on $700 billion. That's not enough to be in America, period, bar none. I'm saying to you that little games to get your mind off of it because your day is frustrated, like standing in line for an hour at a Popeyes chicken ain't the answer. I'm not talking to you about voting versus Popeyes. I'm not talking to you about voting versus fun. I'm talking to you about exploitation. See, I wanted to come to you today because it was necessary. We got 1,600 in the box. ToneTalks.org to subscribe, donate, and share. Please use this. But what I'm talking to you today about is supporting a black community. But you can't support a black community until you know how to support yourself. And supporting yourself ain't playing into this Popeyes nonsense. I just wanted to come to you today, have this discussion, give people a forum to hear more about where Popeyes came from, how it is targeting black demos. I'm going to show it again. In Los Angeles, you can see it. The red dots are where white people live. This is the racial dot map. The dots are white folks. The Popeyes are not in their areas. And understand that even in the other areas, it's a mix of people, Latino and blacks, but we're the primary customer, by far. Black folks. We having a discussion. I ain't guessing. Y'all know I don't play that. ToneTalks.org to subscribe or donate. Share this video. I just wanted to come to you.